Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's a new week. Today is what is today? Oh, it's July 23rd. Jason is not with us today, so it'll be just the two of us recapping July 15th through July 22nd. What's up? Welcome back. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Good, up and down week to say the least overall.
I know. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but I think heading into SummerSlam, I think we're on the right path. So I'm thinking we're leading into something good. I mean, a bit of news this week. We talked about this recently, but Hikuleo signed with WWE. So we've got another new member of the Bloodline.
Yeah, we could be seeing him in 2 weeks for all we know.
Oh man, it's
just a matter of time.
As I called it before, it is Bloodline Hollywood and Bloodline Wolfpack. Trying to see how many more members of the family they have. Like, who's next? What did you
imagine if we go into a third one?
God, what do you think about them letting Bobby Lashley get released?
Well, so supposedly, I guess he's not officially gone yet, and they, as of right now, it doesn't sound like they're going to get a contract worked out. But I think this is going to work out better for all parties, personally, myself, because the AEW locker room has been pushing Tony Khan to sign Shelton Benjamin. So you got MVP Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin over to AEW. I think they will be used much better than they could be right now on WWE, because WWE wants to push the young guys right now.
Yeah. You'll have the Pain Corporation on AEW.
Yeah.
I don't think they can use the name.
Yeah, definitely won't be the Hurt Business.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't think they can use it. What else happened this week? MVP, Bobby Lashley, Hikuleo. We got a full SummerSlam card so far. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. So we got 2 Raws, NXT, SmackDown minor shows. I'm actually able to load the graphics this week. It wouldn't let me last week, but I guess we'll start off with last week's Raw, and we'll just go from there. What do we see here? July 15th, Sheamus defeating Bronson Reed, Sonya Deville defeating Zelina Vega, Damian Priest defeating Braun Strowman, Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark defeating Katana and Kaden, Jey Uso defeating Dominic, and an IC match, Sami Zayn versus Dragunov, ending in a no contest. Of course, Sami retaining the title. Raw's been on fire lately.
Yeah, very good episode, I thought, right here, especially with the foreshadowing that was done, because I'm curious to see with this Priest and Gunther feud, they keep talking about street trash and everything. Are we going to get a street fight eventually out of this, whether it be at SummerSlam or Bash in Berlin? But another thing that I noticed too is a Judgment Day, when they be playing 2K24 in there, when Rhea was talking to him, Liv was beating the absolute piss out of Rhea on the screen in the background. So, and that's when Finn and all them weren't paying attention. So I think that's just a matter of time too, as we saw in the previous or the Raw last night. Also, that's just a matter of time before Judgment Day implodes.
We know it's coming. I was, and we'll talk about this when we get to the next Raw, but I mean, I was kind of hoping that Dom was going to break off and all that. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess. But an interesting, I don't know, a lot of good storylines coming. We've talked about this lately, but I mean, SmackDown has been kind of lackluster lately, and Raw has taken over as like the A show, which it should be because it's the main show, but like, Raw was kind of boring for a while, and now it's really good every week. You used to say 3 hours is too long, but now it's like it's over before you know it. Yeah. It doesn't drag on.
Like with SmackDown, I think. Yeah, with SmackDown being 2 hours too, I think it almost gives it a little bit of it doesn't have the show be the full potential, because we see the same people featured every single week. If you make SmackDown a 3-hour show, you're going to be able to feature people on that roster that we haven't seen yet, like Shinsuke, Giovanni Vinci. We're starting to see Blair Davenport finally, but there's plenty of people on that roster that we don't see that often that we should.
It makes you wonder, what their plan was with Giovanni. Like, it was hot, that feud, for a minute, and I thought there was going to be something good come out of it, and then just like boom, nothing. It seems like, I would guess they're probably going to repackage him. Probably. I mean, I don't know what else you do with them.
Even now, Ludwig has a rib injury, I believe, too. So even if they did go down that road originally, we would have had that feud on hold. So it actually sort of did work out for them.
Mm-hmm. So I really like what they're doing with the IC title picture. I like that the story is continuing. I think ultimately this is going to end with, either Dragunov or Braun Breaker getting it. Who do you think gets it? Which one?
So according to Meltzer, he actually got this one right. It was going to be a one-on-one match at SummerSlam between Breaker and Sami Zayn. And supposedly he told Meltzer that he didn't win the Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank because they wanted to do it on a bigger stage at SummerSlam. So I think we'll see Braun Breaker get it there. And then last night, not to lead to the next Raw too much, but with Sami Zayn and Jey Uso pinning the tag team champions, I think after Sami drops the belt, we could see a run of them as the tag team champions like we saw Jey and Cody last year.
Leading into Roman's return and the honorary Uso.
Exactly.
I like it. I like it. That would be something. With Hikuleo coming in, I mean, I'd debut him on Raw because it seems like you've got everybody else over on SmackDown. Like, you need somebody in the other bloodline, so why not let him come along, give him something.
Isn't Roman exclusive to SmackDown, though? That's the only problem with that, because when is their contract up with Fox? It's a few months still, I believe, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, in wrestling, everything gets forgotten really easily. I would bet they have Roman pop up on Raw and then just everybody forgets he got drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah, that's true. And then they might just say, screw it, seeing that they're at the end of the contract anyway.
And, as they kind of get more into the brand extension and the draft and stuff, it starts to get that porous membrane and everybody just goes back and forth anyway. So, I mean, they may see some of that. I don't know. Because I would want Roman on Raw anyway, just because of the Netflix deal, like an uncensored tribal chief. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think I'm all about that, especially if you unfortunately we're not going to see him as a heel, but if The Rock comes back and he is the final boss character in there, that's made for Netflix right there alone.
Yeah, God, an unhinged. I remember watching his promos he was doing on Twitter during the Final Boss era, and just God, I have never heard him swear that much. It was so weird because I grew up watching The Rock. Well, I grew up, I was a teenager, but I remember watching The Rock when I was in high school, and he was still pretty clean compared to a lot of stuff nowadays. Pretty tame compared to what you see in TV shows and movies. But Final Boss Rock was like a whole other level. Like, that dude was off his rocker.
Yeah. Luckily, I think we're lucky enough to where he's built such a reputation for himself that he can do heelish things and be a heel without people actually associating him with being a bad person. So we get to see that art come out of him to form the final boss.
So a pretty decent Raw altogether. I mean, a lot of these storylines are really progressing. I'm liking Sonya Deville being back in the picture. I'm liking what's going on with the Judgment Day. I'm liking the Sami Zayn angle that they got going. Sheamus getting TV time. I'll never complain about that. So it's cool that he's getting some love now too. That was what I was hoping when he came back, was that they wouldn't just put him in the mid card, that he'd be on TV weekly. So I definitely hope that they're building to something with him too.
This new intro sucks. Def Rebel struck again with that one. That's the one thing. Why did we change it up? We finally got his old music back.
We did.
And we messed it up like Braun Breaker. We were just starting to get used to his intro where they put the camera on his face and he'd do that when the guitar was going. And now we got this new, his theme isn't as bad as Sheamus's, but it's still not as good as the last one.
I don't know. I don't like AJ Styles' new theme. I loved his old one. I'm not a big fan of the new one.
Yep. Yeah,
I mean,
same here.
That's my take on it.
100%.
Yep. So we moved on to I didn't make one for NXT. Well, I forgot about that. Okay, talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm going to make this thing for NXT.
No, I was going to say I could. Okay, yeah, if you're going to make it, I can go over the matches first. We got the Rascals defeating Gallus. We got Javon Evans beating Brooke Jensen.
Actually, I got an idea. Before we talk about NXT, let's talk about TNA, because we saw some crossovers from NXT and TNA. True. Let's do that.
Yeah, Slammiversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hometown hero.
Yeah. Which hometown hero? The Ref or Speedball?
We saw our hometown hero Joe Hendry. Unfortunately, did not capitalize and get his championship. And to those complaining that may say, "Why are we talking about this?" Well, it's a crossover and it's going to keep happening. So TNA is entirely relevant to what we have going on here.
Yeah, one thing that I'm really worried about with this Joe Hendry thing is I don't want to see him feud with Gallus or be a part of Gallus. That scares me seeing that on Tuesday nights. I don't need to see Joe Hendry associated with Gallus at all.
It was freaking hilarious though. Like, oh my God, it was so funny. But yeah, for those who didn't watch Slammiversary, I mean, it was a good show. Dolph Ziggler, formerly of WWE, is now the TNA World Champion. So kind of cool to see him get some love.
One problem that I had with Slammiversary is I thought I accidentally clicked on WrestleMania 40, the Tubi version, because of all the title changes. We had the end. Yeah, we had the end there after Ziggler wanted everyone coming out. It was too much based off of WrestleMania 40, in my opinion. I would have liked it more if they did their own thing for the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it was good though. I mean, and it shows you how much this WWE crossover is paying off because it was a sold out packed show. I think it said something like 4,000 people or something like that. So the biggest TNA gate in forever. So a lot of people are complaining about it, but it's definitely helping TNA a lot. So I'm liking to see what's going on there. Another thing about that, before we get into NXT, Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy expressed interest in coming back to NXT to get the NXT tag titles. So, I mean, it's kind of cool. It's interesting because it's a way to backdoor people into WWE without having a WWE contract.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, how we were talking about Bobby Lashley. I think a great place for him to go would be TNA, but seeing he has that tension with WWE right now, I don't see him going to TNA because of that.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I feel like it's inevitable that he's going to end up in AEW. I just feel like they could use it. They could use another top guy. I think it'd be good for them. And then we saw the Rascals, Wesley, of course, crossing over to Slammiversary. So a lot of TNA talent, WWE talent. The former Dana Brooke competed for a world championship, but didn't win. So, it's cool stuff. If you're not watching TNA, you should be. It's a good show. I like what they're doing now, and I think both brands are definitely going to help elevate each other. And if for anything, you really get to see Joe Hendry in his natural element. So that's one thing that I really enjoy about that.
Yeah. And then on top of it, too, it's no longer bare knuckle boxing at 10 o'clock after Impact. You get to watch New Japan Wrestling after on Access TV too, so that's even another brand that people can venture off into that they don't have to even change the channel for.
Yep. So NXT, we saw the Rascals defeating Gallus. Joe Hendry made an appearance and also a cool backstage segment. If you missed NXT, go watch it. Just that clip's online. You can find it. Javon Evans defeated Brooks Jensen. Ethan Page defeated Dante Chen to retain the title. Tatum Paxley defeated Izzy Dame. I love seeing Tatum on TV. This cool backstage segment with her too. Lola Vice defeated JCJ, and the OC defeated OTM. And Obafemi defeated Duke Hudson. Are they ever going to take that title off of Obafemi? Like, who's going to beat him?
I don't know, and I'm wondering too, because eventually he's getting to the point where he should be in that NXT title picture, and that's the problem when you put some of these mid-card belts on these guys. It's like Gunther, we had that long reign, and now he's going into that. But then if you go over to AEW, when they put the international championship on Will Ospreay, I really didn't understand that, because he should be in that championship tier, but yet you have that belt on him, and you got to make him look weak and take that belt off of him shorter than it should be to get him into that picture. So I'm sort of questioning if it was the right decision to put that North American title on him.
It makes me curious. I've heard some people saying they could see a TNA crossover coming over. Potentially you could see Joe Hendry coming over and crossing over for the North American Championship or something like that. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I'd be cool with it. It'd be really cool to see an NXT title that floats around. I mean, that'd be neat. And if you don't want to do it with the top title, do it with the North American title.
And another thing also that I was thinking of too is for the women's tag titles. I know they got one set of those in TNA, but if you have some of those women's tag titles, maybe even venture over there for a match. You have legitimate women's tag teams over there where we don't have as many of them in WWE.
Yeah, you do. Some good ones. Yeah. I mean, because most of the time you forget that they exist. So, I mean, the women's tag titles, let them float to NXT, let them float to TNA, like make them matter, make them relevant. They don't do anything with them now. So, I mean, that's just something.
This time last year, we had them floating to NXT, and just as soon as those belts touched Jade and Bianca, we haven't seen them go down to NXT since then. I think that's a big misstep.
And the Unholy Union are, NXT talent. They're barely main roster talent at this point, just because they just moved up recently. But I mean, they have a lot of NXT lineage, so I don't see why they wouldn't want to go down there and defend them. I mean, I would.
Exactly. And the other thing is they just finally started getting featured on TV again after the draft, because before the draft, if I remember correctly, the last time we saw them was that Christmas episode where they popped out of the present. I don't think we ever seen them for about 5 months before that.
Yeah, not very often. Like they were rarely on TV, if ever. So another thing on NXT is floating trios titles would be cool, because you have all these factions. I mean, look, you have the Rascals, you have Gallus, like trios titles would be cool to float around too. You could have them go from Raw to SmackDown to NXT to TNA. They could go anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that. And the one thing that I've noticed too with NXT and on Raw, we saw it a few weeks ago, is they're really starting to look like that mixed tag matches are coming back now too.
I hope so. I love those. I hope we get more of those. But yeah, NXT was another awesome show. Week after week, man, NXT continues to be the highlight of the week for me. It's the one I don't ever miss live. I always watch that one live. And the OC got a win. Look at that.
Yeah, finally.
I know. A lot of people were like, why would they subject themselves to this? But like, they've had good careers. They're making good money. They like it down there in Florida. They're putting over new talent. So like, they're happy. They're not mad about jobbing. Like, they're having fun.
And then on top of it too, it looks like we're going to get the Motor City Machine Guns starting off in NXT too, because supposedly there was rumors that Alex Shelley confirmed that this past Saturday at a show. I've seen mixed reports about it, but it seems like it's pretty much a done deal that they're coming to WWE, and I can't see them starting off on the main roster, because the only people that we've seen do that recently have been Jade Cargill, and I'm not going to count CM Punk's scene. He was in WWE. He was
already here. Yeah. I know. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Okay. Yeah. As soon as I heard that signing news, I was like, man, they are getting hungry. Like Vince never would have signed them. Like he would have been like, oh, it's more indie dudes. Like Vince was not a big indies guy, but like Papa H and Sean, like they know where the money is. They know people like these guys. And I think that's the difference, because, AEW, in my opinion, has kind of built themselves up around indie talent. They have some top level talent, but was one thing I like about how WWE is doing it is they're bringing in indie talent, but they also have top level and homegrown talent. And I think that mix helps a lot of people get into the indie talent that comes in.
No, because look at the other thing too, is not all the indie talent that's came into WWE per se has done the best. Because in my opinion, I consider Chelsea Green an indie talent before she came to WWE, and I just don't think they've used her right at all, as I've said before.
No, it's like they don't know what to do with her, and she's so over, and they keep time after time dropping the ball on her, and I don't get where the misconnect is. Like, did they have beef with Matt Cardona over something? Like, I don't know what their problem is.
With the new deal with TNA, they shouldn't, because he's going to come back from injury soon, and that would be a guy that they should definitely use.
Yeah, that's your crossover right there. Bring over the Deathmatch King.
Yeah.
So we went from NXT to SmackDown, which, as many will say, not the best show. Andrade defeating Carmelo Hayes, Bianca defeating Chelsea. So sad. Michin getting a win over Tiffany Stratton, and yet another Cody and KO match, defeating A-Town Down Under, of course, with more freaking bloodline stuff. And I don't know.
I think Triple H is not anywhere near that show on Friday and is a Bruce Pritchard run show, because think about this. We see Gorilla all the time on Raw. They show it all the time. When do we ever see it on SmackDown?
We don't.
Next to never. Exactly. And I guarantee you we will just see Bruce sitting right behind Gorilla if they show it, and Triple H will not be there.
And they just brought in that new writer, so maybe that's a lot of it. But it's really weird because that new writer gave us one of the best SmackDowns we've had in recent memory. So
back to
it's
back,
very,
2 of them.
Yeah. So it's very inconsistent. I think that's the problem. Is it's very much up and down. You'll have a really good one and then a really crappy one. For me, a lot of it is that this Bloodline story is just incredibly boring. Like, it's not good right now. I don't know. You can say what you will about it, whether or not it's Roman being gone or what contributes to that, but Solo is not an interesting character. They're not doing anything other than just beating down Cody. Like, I don't know. That's the kind of faction you want to take over, like NWO Black and White and WCW back in the day. You want them to be a takeover stuff faction, and they're not. They're just boring to me.
Yeah, another weird thing too is on next week's SmackDown. It's just before I go into this, we have a taped SmackDown next week. So you thought this week was bad. Wait till next week. It's going to be even worse because they're over in Japan for the Super Show. They already taped it last Friday. But we have Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga as the Bloodline tag team trying to get the -- 1 contendership. I thought that would be a good place to use Jacob too. Yeah.
Yep. For those who may not know, ex-Japan, big Japan guys. So taping in Japan, you want to use those guys. Who else do they? They don't have Finn. I'm trying to think of who else. You said they already taped it.
Oh no, they taped it after SmackDown on Friday. They're going to Japan for a Super Show this weekend.
So there's already another SmackDown taped.
Yep, already. Right, they did it right after on Friday, and that's why I'm very worried about this week's SmackDown, because when they've done that in the past, it has not been the best shows.
So the results are probably already out there, huh? Oh, yeah. There they are. Yeah.
I'm not going to look at them, but
I am. I'm just curious.
No, I feel you. I was going to say it might save you 2 hours of your life come Friday, because what they put out recently has not been the best, to say the least.
Oh, what? You're going to want to watch it live.
Yeah,
you're going to want to watch it Friday. Holy crap, that's awesome. There's something that happens on there that's incredibly fun.
Well, I hope so, because they need something to spice that show up.
Hang on, I'll put it in the chat, and you can read the spoiler if you want to. That's so freaking random. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. Yeah, I want to see that. Okay.
I was surprised that they showed him right off the bat the other day.
Yeah. So that was interesting. So even though it's taped, I'm going to go ahead and watch it. That'll be pretty cool. So, standard show. I mean, I don't really have much thoughts about it. I mean, I don't know. You can, if you have anything, I don't know.
Well, seeing Speed came out this week, and Speed was taped in Worcester, Mass. last Friday. You had Carmelo Hayes in his hometown, and you didn't feature him on, like, literally 10 minutes from his hometown. I know Worcester is, but it's literally 10 minutes away. You didn't put him on a main SmackDown show. You could have done this match against Andrade last week. Instead, you do a time limit draw on Speed. I don't get that personally myself, because I didn't notice that until this week.
Nice segue. We'll actually pop into that. Yeah. Dragunov and Carmelo on Speed. Yeah. A draw, a dual elimination for the time limit. And that was crazy. I did not see that coming.
Well, here's why they have to, because every Friday before PLEs, we need to have a Speed championship match. It's part of the contract. So now they can start a new bracket after this.
Okay. Gotcha. So that's very interesting. But I mean, I'm cool with it, because Baron Corbin could be the Speed champion. Like, what? Wouldn't that be cool?
I'm not opposed. I like a lot what he's doing, tagging with Apollo Crews right now too. It's good. I think he's one of the better tag team division wrestlers right now, between what he did with the Wolf Dogs and now what he's doing with Apollo, because I think that's a way that they can revitalize his career and help that division that needs help at the moment.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm interested to see. I mean, I don't know. I just really wish they would have put Baron and Braun Breaker together. I still don't understand why they didn't bring them up as a team. That's just odd drafting choices, I think. But they belong together. Like, they were, for those who didn't watch them in NXT, they did some great work. Some of Baron Corbin's best work, and they were an incredible tag team.
Yeah, the promos were phenomenal too, I thought.
Did you see main event? There were some interesting matches this week. I know some people probably turned them on and were like, if you don't watch a lot of the other shows, you're like, who the heck are these people? You had Pete Dunne defeating Malik Blade and Joaquin Wilde defeating Luca Crucifino on main event. That was a really interesting choice of matches.
Yeah, I thought I was watching Level Up at first when I saw this. It's
right
out of all the people to call up to just see how they interact with guys on the main roster. These are the two guys who call up. That was a real just real surprise to me, to say the least.
Yeah, Luca I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Over on Level Up, I mean, you also had Malik over on Level Up.
Mm-hmm.
So he lost on main event, went to Level Up, defeated the Eternal Jobber Cutler James. Has he won a match yet? Adriana Rizzo defeated Laney Reed, and Eddie Thorpe defeated Shiloh Hill. I'm going to look that up. Let's see. Let's look.
Cage match.
Yeah, I'm looking him up real quick. What's his record at right now? Let's see. Matches. He has not yet that I know of. So let's see. He lost July 9th, June 21st, June 18th, June 1st, May 31st, May 28th, May 10th, April 30th.
Oh man.
Was he formerly Jonah Niesenbaum? Was that his old name, I guess?
I don't know.
Lost there, and lost there. So since August 22nd of 2023, he's been in 13 matches and has not won a single one of them yet.
Well, I guess Shinsuke has someone beaten then.
Good Lord. Which one of Triple H's kids did he piss off or something? Like,
I don't know.
My good. And which is weird because he's talented. Like, he's a talented dude. He's got like good heritage to him, and
he was he was a wrestler at Duke, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So he's got good heritage.
One thing with Level Up that I like this week, though, and I hope they do more of, is we had other segments involved in this than just matches, which I believe we had 3 of them. We had one with Uriah Connors and Dion Lennox. We had an interview with who was it? I can't remember. And Kendall Gray, I believe it was. And then one other one in there, and I thought that was good because I think you should make that a secondary show of NXT that maybe even with your new contract with CW gets featured on TV as opposed to just being on Peacock after SmackDown and then on Hulu the next day.
Yep. Yeah, I make NXT 3 hours for one, because it could easily support it with their roster, and then Level Up 2 hours as a secondary show. Run them both on CW. I mean, you'd get definite eyes on the brand. NXT already has a lot of people watching, but do a little bit of an expansion, even better. Yeah, I definitely think they can support it.
All
That's
for
for sure. So, do you think the Speed Championship is going to come off of Andrade? Do you think they're going to let Baron Corbin have it?
I don't think so yet, just because we got to remember first off that Andrade was probably next in line for the Speed Championship after Ricochet, because they seem to put on the guys that people seem to criticize them, but they don't know how to use correctly. So I think seeing that got put on sooner than everyone expected to and the writers expected to, I think they'll probably keep it on him for a little bit of time. That's my feeling, but who knows?
And where is Ricochet? Like, what is he doing?
Free agent at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he's signed to AEW verbally and they won't put the papers out because they don't want to spoil a surprise. He could even come out at Blood and Guts tomorrow night, or just possibly wait till Wembley at the end of August.
Yeah. Some people were saying that they thought he was hologram, and I was like, no, the tattoos don't match up. Like, no. It's not the same guy.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
It's like a basic, just look at a picture of Ricochet and a picture of hologram, and it's like they're two completely different people. Yeah. And I'm curious where he's going to end up. I've been anxiously watching TNA, hoping he shows up there. Like, that's your guy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't. Just like I said about Bobby Lashley, I don't think that's going to happen when they're at odds with each other with that new crossover partnership.
Yeah, it's definitely a curious thing. So moving on to the next Raw last night. And one thing, I'll read these results and then I want to talk about it. I have a topic I want to talk about. I'm curious your thoughts on this one. Number one contender for the IC, Braun Breaker defeated Dragunov. Sonya Deville defeated Lyra Valkyrie. Final Testament got a win over the New Day, Otis and Akira. Zelina Vega defeated Zoe Stark. And Sami Zayn and Jey Uso defeated the Judgment Day, as we touched on earlier. I want to go back to last week and touch on all the Wyatt Six stuff before we get into Raw. First point, how do we feel about Bo Dallas coming out to the ring and being beaten down? Do you feel like that was a good use of his character?
I do, because it shows that he's crazy in the head. He's sick in the head, whatever you want to say, because they beat the piss out of him, and it didn't do a damn thing to him. He was laughing the whole time, saying, "There you are," and he just waited for his family to come out. I thought it was just fine. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Some of the takes I saw online, people were saying like, "Oh, this makes him look weak, and it's not a good look for the character." I'm like, no, look at dude sitting there laughing. Like, that doesn't happen when somebody gets beat down. So that was an interesting take on the character, I think. And then the family coming out as well after that and stuff. The Rowan tape was wow.
Yeah,
that was
pretty deep.
Better than I thought it was going to be. Like, Rowan is not usually the most multi-dimensional character, but I feel like that really humanized him and made him really interesting to me.
Yeah, that's and we haven't even got to see him do much promo work in general in his career. So to see that, I think that can only help him, and it's gonna have people personally connect with them and just enjoy the faction even more than they already do.
One thing a lot of people didn't know is when Bo was getting beaten down, why did he keep saying yeah? That's a Brody Lee thing or a Luke Harper thing for those who didn't know. So he's tying in a lot of elements of his character. Like, last night when he hit the Sister Abigail, like, he's pulling in from everywhere, and it's really cool.
Yeah. One thing that I'm very worried about, though, with Uncle Howdy is I see too many similarities of him and the Fiend, with dropping down to the knees, putting the arms out. Well, Sister Abigail, we already saw Uncle Howdy do that one with to Bray back a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So I have no problem with that, but I just don't want to see too many Bray mannerisms, the Fiend mannerisms from Uncle Howdy Bo Dallas, because I want him to be his own character.
Yeah. I think he'll start to branch out a little bit more, like, the longer the character goes. I think that's going to help out a lot. But, people were saying like, oh, they're mid-card talent. They're not that over. Like, if you hear the crowd pops for them, they're over. Like, they're being treated way better than mid-card talent.
Yeah, I don't want to. So I think you can agree with me on this. The past week, it's been a bad week for the IWC. The takes have just been outrageous on four different topics. I'm not gonna name all of them because I don't want to get into it. But it has been absolutely disgusting. Some of the stuff I've been seeing, not in the sub either. I'm just saying in general. Just
everywhere, Twitter, everywhere, just bad takes all around. Not some good ones. Yeah. I know.
And then look at Cody Rhodes right now. Always say this. We have a former mid-card jobber that is now the face of a company. I don't care what they've done in the past. We live in the now and the future. Like, don't judge them on that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, The Miz was a former, like, reality show star, and in my opinion, he's a first ballot future Hall of Famer. Like, he's one of the faces of this company. So I mean, you definitely can't. Roman Reigns was leaky. Like, a lot of these people were tremendously boring when they started out. So, yeah, some very bad takes all around, especially with what they've been saying about the Wyatt family. They're like, oh, they're all mid-card people. Why are they? No, they're good now. Like, they rose out of the mid-card. And that's the point of the storyline, is that they were forgotten and he brought them out. That's the point of the story.
Yeah, and one thing too is you should see. I should suggest you go watch the first 15 minutes of the Pat McAfee show today. He called them out for calling him the worst commentator ever, and he chewed their ass out, to say the least. Him and the rest of the people on his panel.
Oh man, what did you think about I was curious how they were going to handle the Nikki Cross tape. I like how they did it. She doesn't have to talk. Like, that was cool.
So I like the eeriness of it, but I would still like to hear why she's here, because we've heard that from Howdy and Eric Rowan. So I would still like to hear why she's here. I know she doesn't have to talk. Same thing with Dexter Lumis, but even like
Yeah.
when the Fiend came out to John Cena to challenge him, he points at the WrestleMania sign, just something discreet like that to send us a message.
I saw a lot of comments on Twitter. People were saying, like, after she did the scream, they were like, "Rip my headphones." That was so surprising. Yeah, Dexter Lumis was the one I thought wouldn't have talking. Nikki was the one that I thought they could do so much with, like, from Sanity to that Nikki ASH gimmick. Like, she's got a lot she can talk about. She was like, I was crazy, then I was a superhero.
Yeah, because even if, as I said, we don't want to have them talk, she's delivering these packages with videotapes in them. Have her deliver a package with a note in it. Dexter Lumis, he doesn't talk. He always used to carry around an axe. Have him write something in a piece of wood with the axe. Just have him give us a message of why they're here. They don't have to physically talk on screen to show us that.
What do you think about the Creeds and Gable together? I mean, this is the faction it should have been all along.
Yeah.
This is everything I wanted.
Yeah, I'm very curious though why we waited this long if we're not going to have them involved at SummerSlam though, because it seems like we usually only get 5 matches per pay-per-view. I believe there's 6 confirmed right now for SummerSlam if I remember correctly. Okay, 7. I'm sorry, but if they're not going to be involved, either the Creeds or the Wyatt, I mean not the Creeds, Chad Gable and the Creeds and the Wyatt Six going into SummerSlam, why are we teaming up now and not a long time ago? That's my one complaint I have.
I think maybe they wanted to get the Creeds over on the main roster. I don't know, because we talked about them for weeks. They were doing good on main event and stuff. Maybe just to get them more aware of people. But like, I really like. I mean. Again, we said it last week, trios titles, like so many trios in this company, more than tag teams at this point. Like, I love this faction so much. And I really hope we see more of that. And that would be a match I'd like to see at SummerSlam. Gable and the Creeds against Bo Dallas and Gacy and Lumis. I mean, or Rowan. I mean, anyone you want. You could just pick any 3. Or Howdy could just be the overseer and put up Gacy, Lumis, and Rowan.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And seeing we've been doing the mixed tag match thing, like we don't have to include per se Joe Gacy. I think he's probably actually one of the better in-ring workers of that faction. But seeing he was on NXT before, and these guys have all been on the main roster, have the Creeds, Ivy Nile, Chad Gable go up against all of the Wyatt Six minus Joe Gacy. That's a good 8-man tag match right there.
I really want Ivy Nile in the new Gable University. These two run together for me, but wasn't she the one that talked Maxine out of being in Gable's stable?
Yeah.
See, that's what because I would love her in his stable, but she's like against the stable. So I don't know.
But we got to remember after that, even after she talked Maxine out, Chad went up to her and he's like, oh, you're someone I can use. And then after that, we still saw Ivy talking to Chad in the background. So she could just be playing both sides too, or she's friends with both of them. And I think that would be acceptable in this case. But from what we've seen so far, it doesn't look like she's going to be included at all, unfortunately, because other than she's been being featured in singles matches on main event for most part, what I've seen.
Because I liked her in like her work in Diamond Mine. Like, I think she has a lot of potential on the main roster. She's one of those that just isn't getting used as much. Like her and Zoe Stark are 2 of like my favorite females on the roster. But I feel like she should be used as much as Zoe Stark, which is a shame that she isn't. So I definitely think she has a fitting place in the Gable stable.
Definitely, and we've seen your Zoe Stark fan. I like her work too. That faction right there between her, Sonya Deville, and Shayna Baszler, they're getting a lot of momentum. They've won 3 weeks in a row now.
I'm so here for it. If they don't put Ivy Nile in the Gable stable, throw her in there with Sonya and them. Like, we haven't had a good female stable in forever. Damage Control. They weren't that great in my opinion, but this could be a really strong female stable if they threw Ivy into it.
Yeah, definitely. This could even, as I said, this could be even better than Damage Control, personally. Yeah.
So, we've had some good storylines. SummerSlam is starting to take shape. some pretty good matches. I guess kind of one we. So the Liv and Dom and Rhea story kind of last night on Raw, we saw it kind of falling apart. So Liv and Rhea have a match at SummerSlam. Do we think Dom's going to turn?
So I've been thinking about this up until we went on the air today because I really don't know which way they're going to go with this. You have Finn, who should be turning and costing Damian the title, and Dom that costs Rhea the title. So the only ways that I think they can play this off in my head is if you have Dom cost Rhea the title and he goes with Liv and Finn doesn't approve of it and he's pissed. And then let's say we don't get our street fight that I was talking about earlier between Gunther and Priest, but we get it at Bash in Berlin because they want him to win the World Heavyweight Championship in front of his own people. You have them do that. Finn still plays the card of the good side, and then he costs him in the street fight at Bash in Berlin. That's the only way you can get both of these turns off successfully.
You
can't do them on the same night.
Yeah, it wouldn't work. So do we think? So I mean. I think Gunther winning at SummerSlam would be a great moment, but I definitely think if they do it at Bash in Berlin, it's going to be a better moment. Yeah,
I could definitely see that, and especially where I think the timing's funny too, because even though Meltzer talks to wrestlers all the time, they ain't saying anything to him without the WWE's approval. With Braun Breaker saying, I didn't win the Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank because they want to do it on a bigger stage at SummerSlam. Why would they not do the same thing for Gunther and put it on his bigger stage, which is Bash in Berlin?
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be a better one. Bayley and Nia Jax seems like an opportunity for a Tiffy cash in. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's when it's going to happen. I would say I'm 95% sure that that's going to go over that way. I mean,
and this is another reason why I'm disappointed in Money in the Bank pay-per-view this year. We had the copy and paste from Solo pinning Cody as Jey Uso pinned Roman last year. Last year, Io Sky cashed in the Money in the Bank at SummerSlam. And it looks right now like Tiffy's going to do the same thing, no matter who wins this match. I assume it'll be on Nia Jax if she wins, but I'm okay with copy and paste because wrestling history always repeats itself, but we don't have to do it on a back-to-back year basis.
I know. Yeah. I think so. I wouldn't mind Nia having the title for a bit, though. Like, I mean, I think Tiffy will cash in. I'm pretty sure that's inevitable, but probably needs to lose it because I think the women's has 100% cash-in rate. So
it does 7 for 7, I believe.
Yeah, so I think Nia should hold it for a while. That would be awesome. Give Tiffy a cash-in, a fail, and let Nia win the match. I mean, the IWC would be in flames.
And I think even if she does cash in on Nia and wins, we will see Nia with a world championship soon enough because we know how she is with The Rock. And I think just this time around, she's just so much better this time around at WWE than she was before. And I love that they gave her King of the Ring because I made a bold prediction by picking her to win King of the Ring, and I'm glad they went with that.
Yeah. So Cody and Solo at SummerSlam. I mean, obviously Cody will win, but it'll have to have a screwy finish. So,
but I don't know if it has to have a screwy finish though, because the thing is we could just after the fact, when Solo's walking out or something, have Roman come in to shock him after that. We don't have to have it during the match because in my mind, look at all the damage that we've done to Cody so far with having him look weak on the road to WrestleMania. He gave in to Logan Paul's demands. AJ Styles attacks him, and now we have the Bloodline beating him down every week. Like, he needs a clean win if anyone needs one.
Yeah. There's a point of being an underdog and a point of looking weak, and they're making your top guy look weak.
Yeah, it's I like Cody Rhodes. As I said, I've been on a roller coaster ride with this American Nightmare gimmick, and I just think it could be so much better than they're using them personally.
Yeah, I think so as well. Logan Paul and LA Knight. I feel like this is going to be LA Knight's moment.
So I thought the same thing, and I have heard online, which I didn't put this together in my head. Logan Paul's lost 2 matches in a row now between Cody Rhodes and getting pinned by LA Knight. Are they really going to have Logan Paul lose 3 matches in a row?
Oh,
that's the one thing I question with this, because I understand his wife has a baby on the way and he might want some time off. So I could see him taking the 3 losses in a row because it probably won't hurt him because he's such a big star. But just who knows?
I don't know. I feel like they got to give something to LA Knight at this point. Like, he's a top guy. He's so over. Like, you need to give him a championship. I mean, it's like Cody, you know, are they going to give LA Knight the Cody approach and make him chase titles for years? Like, I don't know. I'd like to think Triple H can book better than that. And LA Knight is not getting any younger. He's one of those guys like, you know, like Bobby Roode. He should have had a run as a top guy before he stepped down. Like,
definitely.
Full stop. Like, Bobby Roode was over as hell in NXT and came over and they just bungled his character. But like, Bobby Roode as a massive heel would have been everything this company needed as a top guy. He would have had Roman level heat. Like, he was top notch guy. So I feel like LA Knight not getting any younger. He needs that time. Like, you need to give him a title. If you're not going to give him a world title, give him the US title. I feel like he would be someone who would elevate it. LA Knight, most of the time I forget the US title exists or who has it because he's never here.
Yeah,
LA Knight
two title defenses so far.
Those stats, good God, it's so bad. That's why I don't like when these people talk about their records and they're like, oh, I have a record. I've been a champ for a year. And it's like, you've defended twice. Like, you're barely a champion. Barely a champion.
The one thing is, though, with LA Knight, and I wonder if I think WWE, the creative team, thinks like this too. He's so over. Do we really need to put a championship on him? Because it's not going to make him more over than he already is. He is at that tier. So I just don't. I thought it was a lock before this for LA Knight to get it, but since I've heard that, that's made me really question it personally to see, are they going to make him lose 3 times in a row?
Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker, we kind of ran that back earlier. I feel like this will be Braun Breaker's moment because, you know, Jay
definitely.
and Sami teaming up. I feel like they could go a direction for the tag team titles. I feel like this is Braun's moment. I'm here for it. I think it's going to be good. I think we're pretty on the same page there. But the last one, this is the one I'm very eager to see. CM Punk and Drew McIntyre with Seth as a referee. We talked about this. We haven't seen guest referees in a long time. So this is I don't know. It's going to be cool. I think this could be a good Seth heel turn if he plays it right and costs someone the match. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot could be done story-wise there with how they play that one out.
Definitely. And I'm very curious to see what those referees' instructions are next week that he's going to give Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. Personally, myself, I think Drew McIntyre is going to win, just seeing how many times Punk screwed him and how many losses he's had recently, because CM Punk's a guy who will be over forever. I don't care what happens to him. He's not, nothing's happening to him. But personally, I just think this will be a 3-match series. We're going to have something at Bad Blood. Maybe this will be the Hell in a Cell. Maybe it could be Cody. I mean, I'm sorry, not Cody. Roman and Solo. But I'm going to go with McIntyre on this one.
I hope so, because I'm trying to go to that show. So that's one I'd really like. I would definitely like to see that. Yeah, CM Punk, no matter what he does, is going to get cheered. I mean, you look at this, if it was anyone else in the world doing this, the way he was towards Drew, screwing him over time after time again for, I mean, seemingly no reason, they would get booed out of the building. Drew McIntyre comes out, pours his heart out, and they still chant CM Punk. Like, I say that as a CM Punk fan wearing his shirt, but like, if it was anybody else, they'd be booed out of the building for doing this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And he still gets cheered. So win, lose, or draw, like, he's still going to be over. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like this comparison that I've seen a lot of people online making, that we have this match. It goes back to SummerSlam. I believe it was in 1997, but we had Undertaker versus Bret Hart, where Shawn Michaels was the special guest referee. And they're saying that if you can do this match even halfway as good as that was done, it will be amazing and just make the whole PLE worth watching.
Top tier. Alone. Yep. Top tier.
Yeah.
I wonder what Seth's referee costume will look like. Is he going to wear his heels?
You remember that? You remember that Rock Versace jacket that he had with the snake skin on it that was shiny?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe he'll have like a snake skin shiny zebra stripe type thing going on. Who knows?
Oh, don't tempt me. Oh man, that's going to be my Halloween costume this year. I usually go as John Cena every year because I wear jorts, but like, I think I might switch this year. I might mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can dress up like Seth Rollins anytime. Just go out cross-dressing for a weekend.
So this is every title, both world titles, men's, both world titles, women's, both mid-card titles. Where the hell are the tag titles?
They don't get any time on PLEs.
Have you been watching the social media videos that DIY's been doing with Ciampa trying to RKO
very
Randy
few.
Orton?
Very
So
few. I've seen
funny.
some of them in the past, but I haven't seen any like per se within the past week, if there have been any.
Yeah, they've been doing that. Back in the day, they were doing the Glorious Bombs with Bobby Roode, and those were hilarious. But now they're doing the Ciampa's trying to RKO Randy Orton out of nowhere. He was like at a pool, or he was like at a signing, and he keeps missing. It's hilarious. Like, I love DIY, and these. I wish they would televise these more because they're so funny. Like, DIY is naturally a funny couple of guys on their own. So go watch those. They're
definitely
hilarious.
And
So,
I wouldn't be
do you think there will be a tag match? Do you think they'll add one?
The only one I could see them adding is the Wyatt Six and Chad Gable, because we have the number one contenders match on SmackDown coming up.
Mhm.
I think that'll just be a match that they use for the Go Home SmackDown on next Friday. And the thing that I'm going to ask you now is, now that DIY had the moment at Toronto, are they going to just make them transitional champions, or do you think you think so?
Yep, they will.
You don't think they hold the titles for a little bit?
No, I love DIY. A lot of NXT fans love DIY. Main roster fans don't love DIY. So it's cool they got the moment. They deserve to have them, but I don't think they're going to hold them very long, which is a shame because there's not a lot of tag teams. And this is a team that makes your other teams look good with how good they are in the ring.
Yeah. Yes, some of those matches that they had at the takeovers in the Black and Gold days, even like some Johnny Gargano singles matches, are just some of the best matches the company's ever put on, if you ask me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible. Like, for years, they were a team I was surprised wasn't called up any sooner. The Gargano and Ciampa series, when they were feuding, Ciampa's heel run as a title, when he had the title with Goldie, like, God, that was some good stuff. Black and Gold NXT for me is like up there as good as 90s WCW. Like, that was just such a hot era.
It's just a shame because Vince was so petty that he was getting more ratings than his shows that he ended up canceling it. It was ridiculous, if you ask me. But
I know, and NXT 2.0 was kind of like a massive middle finger to Black and Gold. Like, well, Vince is like, well, I'm going to go have some fun with this, and then it was like, what the hell is this Lisa Frank wrestling show? Like, I don't know. I like the new title though, the new NXT men's title with the color in it. Like, I think it looks good.
Definitely.
I'm hoping that as NXT goes to CW, one of the things I'd like to see is that they start touring the show more, so that the weekly show isn't from Full Sail or PC. I'm hoping that they start touring it some more, because I think that would make it better, because a lot of people aren't going to get excited and watch this brand if they think it's filmed in like a high school gym. They're going to want to see like an actual crowd. And I would argue that NXT in a good market could probably outsell an AEW show with a good card.
Yeah. You look at the places that TNA goes for their Impact tapings. There's no way that NXT could not fill one of those things up for their events easily every week.
Easily. Because when they toured, I went to a show in, they did an NXT show in Mississippi. This was like back in the Black and Gold era, and it was packed. So, I mean, they could easily do it now, especially with the roster they have, because a lot of these are, household names. People know a lot of these people. So I think you could easily have a spillover and get a lot more talent to come across. Even have a TNA NXT crossover. I mean, there's a lot you could do. But I think CW is, if it was me, I would be like, yo, tour the show around, get some more people in there. It's going to get better ratings and stuff like that. So that's what I would do if I was a CW exec.
And this is another thing this week too. Someone in the sub posted about possibly having the TNA versus NXT War Games match. If you want to really do a poke at AEW, you could name this PLE Forbidden War Games.
Oh, Forbidden War Games! Oh my gosh, the disallowed entrance pay-per-view. I'm so ready for it, because Dolph Ziggler against Ethan Page, like. That would be a good match.
Sign me up. I'm all over that.
I am loving Ethan Page as champion, though. Like, he's doing really well, not just in the ring, but like his backstage segments and in-ring segments. Like, he's got the personality. Like, I don't know why they didn't see he could be a top guy. Like, everybody was like, it's too early to put it on him. I'm like, no, this is not early enough. Like, this is a great champion. Like, that's who you want. He's really good.
And can you think of anyone recently that's gotten heel heat that quickly from signing with the company in a matter of a week or two? I can't think of any.
Not at all. No. Usually most signees come over and people are like, oh, cool. And they get cheered, even if they're heels. People are excited to see new faces. Yeah. Ethan Page is just like, don't care about y'all.
Yeah. Because even with Trick as champion too, there's nothing more that they could have done with him as champion unless we were going to have Noam Dar come back, and it doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. That was the last feud for him to have there, so it was the right decision if you ask me to put it on Ethan Page.
Yeah, I think Trick, they need to move on. They can do other things with them. I really want an Ethan and Shawn Spears feud. I mean, it would be so good.
Yeah.
And they're both heels. I mean, it could be good. I know Shawn could do it.
The only thing with that is I can't see WWE putting them both out as heels in that feud. They would have to do a face turn for Shawn Spears, and
they would
do it. Yeah,
you could easily turn him face. It wouldn't be hard at all. You know, like have Ethan Page beating up on someone and Javon Evans, and Shawn Spears comes out and makes a save. Boom, done.
Not even that. Just have Cody Rhodes go down to NXT for a night and have him give him the rub, because you see how close they are. Behind the curtain. He was like the only wrestler at that table, I believe, if I remember correctly. It was all Cody's family other than Shawn, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So Cody could give him the rub easy, and that would definitely lift him up. And Shawn Spears, everybody loves him. You know, even when he's doing his wrestling now, people don't forget that he was Ty Dillinger. So people still do his 10 things. So people remember him and already love him. You could easily make him a face.
Yeah, that's what they were yelling out at Heatwave 10 the whole time. That was the whole chant when he was there. So it's not like
I was so surprised to see that. It was so cool to see that many people remembered that.
Yeah, they had a very good attendance for Heatwave, I thought, compared to for that big of arena to put that event there, like not a stand and deliver to get that crowd. I think that's awesome for the brand.
Yeah, NXT can definitely sell. That's why I think they should tour. Like, people would travel to see. I would travel a few hours, honestly, to see an NXT show. The Mississippi one was like 2.5 hours from here. So, I mean, I'd travel to see a good NXT show. I'd travel for a pay-per-view. I think they should definitely go back to doing more, bring back takeovers. Like, they should honestly do an NXT pay-per-view before every WWE pay-per-view. Like, there's no reason they can't do that.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And then another thing, too, I know you mentioned they just came out with all these live tour dates, and they're not going to your area at all. So some areas that you neglect for the main shows, go put the NXT tour out there.
Yeah, they're not coming anywhere near my area. Let's see.
That's what I'm saying. Go some of those neglected areas. Go put the shows out there, because like I talk about like Live Golf and PGA a lot. That's how Live has gotten to where they are, not just from the Saudi money. All the areas that the PGA Tour stopped happening, Live started to go themselves.
SmackDown in Tulsa in August, I think, is the closest one to where I am.
And that ain't close to you at all.
No, it's hours upon hours upon hours. And then other than that, Nashville, which is like 6 hours from here. But a lot of it's over like East Coast and Europe, and then some northern stuff. Yeah, not much around here. Oh, Crown Jewel's coming up too. I forgot about that one. So we have SummerSlam August 3rd, Bash in Berlin August 31st, Bad Blood October 5th. So we don't have anything in September, which will probably be Survivor Series. No, Survivor Series will be in November.
Yeah.
Crown Jewel in November. Yeah, so after Crown Jewel, there's nothing scheduled until the Royal Rumble on February 1st. So we don't have New Year's Evil scheduled for NXT. We don't have Day One for WWE. So I bet they'll probably put Survivor Series, like late November, early December, and that would be your War Games.
Well, it's always the Saturday after Thanksgiving, I believe, correct, from what they've done in the past.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it would be right in that area. But I think the NXT one should just be a separate show entirely, in my opinion. I don't think you should mix those two War Games together. You can make a whole other event out.
Yeah, easily. Well, what were they wanting to bring? They were wanting to bring back Super Brawl. So they could let the main roster have Super Brawl and let NXT have War Games.
Yep, definitely.
That'd be an easy one.
This year with the Bloodline, I think you have a made War Games. Like last year,
Yeah,
you didn't really have to have a War Game.
no,
Games with what was going on. It's like in AEW, blood and guts isn't always necessary. Like War Games is not
no.
always necessary in WWE. In a lot of years, I think they could have done without it. But this year is one where I think you got to have it with the Bloodline stuff going on.
Yeah, it's like a Hell in a Cell. I think that and War Games should be like special things, and you only do them when you absolutely need to. Hell in a Cell is like your last resort when you're in a feud.
Yep. Yep.
Don't
Hell
just
in a
have
Cell
them
and
down.
last man standing.
Yeah, when you get too far in a feud, that's where you go.
Yeah. Or I
The
quit.
Bloodline stuff,
Yep.
War Games. Yeah,
Yep.
it's some feuds are built for that. But like in the past when they've done War Games and they've just built random teams, like the one they did with the old and new NXT, I liked. Like there was a storyline reason for that, but like just throwing random people together just to have the event, nah, no point. Don't do it.
Exactly. I'm all set on seeing that.
So we got a NXT tonight. I haven't looked at the preview yet. Who do we got?
As of right now, Lexus King versus Eddie Thorpe or Mensa versus Ashante the Adonis. That's all I got right now. I haven't checked to see if they've added anything since last
Brooks
Tuesday.
Jensen versus Josh Briggs.
Oh, yeah, and a no DQ match. Yep. I forgot about that one.
Carly Bright versus Ren Sinclair. Thea Hale's reaction to Roxanne Perez. I wouldn't mind seeing Thea get that title. I hadn't thought about it until I saw that promo, and I was like, I wouldn't mind this. I'm okay with that feud. I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah, I think she's more fit for the North American title per se, but I don't think they're going to take that title off Roxanne until we get that Ava feud, and then I think we'll either see Stephanie Vaquer or Julia come up if they'll start featuring them on NXT, and those are some people that could also take that title away from Roxanne.
I read that Sean is super high on Stephanie. Like he was the one that brought her over and stuff like that. So I'm expecting her to be huge when she debuts.
Yeah, look at what she was doing on the between CMLL and New Japan. And I believe she had 3 or 4 titles at once, I believe. So if that many different promotions are that high on you, you got to be doing something right.
She'll be the next belt collector. Yeah, she was. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with her. So, it's going to be an interesting week. NXT looks to be the top of the week. Raw was good, and SmackDown will be SmackDown. But from what I read about that taping, I'm going to watch it because I want to see that segment. If you don't want to watch SmackDown, you can go and look up the results. They're online.
Yeah, no, they're actually giving video clips each week to I think about 20 minutes long to just show you all the important stuff. But I'm definitely going to watch it. If they just put a camera on an empty ring for 2 hours, I'd probably watch it.
And of course, we've been seeing a lot of Joe Hendry lately, so I'm really curious to see if he's going to be on NXT tonight.
No, I'm sure he will be, especially with them not giving him that TNA title. That might be a sign, too, that they know that he might have a contract buyout from WWE, and they don't want to put that on him if he's going over there soon.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it was on Twitter, I read somewhere, but one of the next TNA pay-per-views, one of the big ones, is supposed to be over there in the UK, and they say that's where he's going to win his title.
I didn't know that. When is how many months out are we from it?
Oh, what pay-per-view was that? Bound for Glory. Somebody said that there's going to be a Bound for Glory in the UK, and I don't see it on their calendar yet, so it may not be announced yet.
Because they just announced 2 or 3 pay-per-views, I believe, in the past week. I don't remember any of them offhand.
Yeah, Emergence is August 30th. Yep. Victory Road is September 13th.
Yep, Victory Road.
And Final Resolution is December 13th. So August, September, and then nothing for October or November. But Bound for Glory, I think, is usually in October. It's usually in October. So if they do that one in October in the UK, I bet that'll be his night.
Yeah, that gives Nick Nemeth a nice little few months with it, and probably see a Nick Nemeth heel turn eventually too. That means because they are not making Joe Hendry heel. That is not happening.
Yeah, you could try, but it ain't gonna happen. So at that point, it's gonna be if he doesn't win it at Bound for Glory in the UK, he's gonna be a WWE signee if he isn't already. Like he may already have a deal we don't know about, but I think WWE is definitely going to be using him in a major way soon.
One thing that I think they might have done it, but the scheduling didn't match up because they had Against All Odds and Clash at the Castle the same weekend. Seeing Joe Hendry go over to Scotland and helping Drew McIntyre win the title to take out CM Punk, I thought that would have been cool.
Oh man, it would have been awesome. Because yeah, they brought up Drew McIntyre in the Gallus promo, so like it makes you wonder if there's going to be some Joe Hendry involvement with Drew McIntyre. Now that would be cool to see him show up at SummerSlam to help Drew win. Like, oh my god, that'd be your test to see how he does on the main roster.
Yeah, you have Drew pick up a microphone in the middle of the match, and he just says his name and he appears.
Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for it. So, what do you think? What do you think this week's going to be? You think it's going to be a good week?
Raw
started off good.
Yeah, we had a good start. I think we'll have a good tonight and Friday nights. Man, I don't know. It's a shaky thing. I'll stay on the positive side. I'll keep an open mind and say I have good expectations.
All right, I'm here for it. So that's all I have, unless you got anything else before we wrap up.
No. We'll probably do our SummerSlam preview next week, probably, correct? Even though we went over some of the matches today.
Yeah, because I think we should have a full card by then, and we can bring Jason in and we can loop in on that and kind of do a preview on that one. So, Jason, wherever you are, we wish you could have been here with us. Bummer you couldn't make it. So, to the Jason fans, we will have him on next week whenever we get back at our next recap show. To everybody else, thanks for stopping by. Have a good week. And we will see you next time.